Let's be real for a moment. How often do you feel like you're swimming upstream, pushing harder, thinking more, doing more, yet the things you want still seem out of reach? We've been taught that effort equals success, that if you're not in control of every detail, you're falling behind. But what if that belief is actually what's holding you back? Think about it. The more you chase, the more life runs from you. The more you cling, the more it slips through your fingers. It's exhausting. But here's the truth. You don't need to force your way through life to thrive. In fact, the deepest power comes when you stop trying to control everything and start aligning with the natural rhythm of life. This isn't about giving up. It's about letting go of resistance. It's about discovering a quieter, more powerful way to move, one that doesn't require you to burn out just to keep up. This way of living has a name. In Taoism, it's called Wu Wei, effortless action. In Stoicism, it's the strength of accepting what you can't control and focusing on what you can. Two ancient paths, one powerful truth. When you stop forcing, you start flowing. Imagine a river meeting a rock. It doesn't crash and rage, it bends. It flows around the obstacle, not because it's weak, but because it's wise. That's you when you stop clinging to control. You become the river, you adapt, you move forward. You find your power not in the fight, but in the flow. In today's episode, we'll explore how to live with less struggle and more ease. How to release the grip, trust the process, and still create a life filled with meaning, purpose, and results. We'll look at what science says about surrender, what ancient wisdom teaches us about patience, and how you can apply all of it to your relationships, career, and personal growth. So if you're tired of pushing, striving, chasing, this is your invitation. To slow down, to breathe, and to realize everything you're looking for might already be making its way to you as soon as you stop trying to force it. Life moves like a river. You can fight the current or learn to ride it, and when you do, you'll be surprised by where it takes you. So often we're taught that action equals progress, that if we're not constantly moving, we're falling behind. But what if the opposite were true? What if waiting, watching, and choosing the right moment was the real key to momentum? The great thinkers of old, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, knew the value of restraint. They knew that real power lies in knowing when not to act. Like a skilled archer holding the bow, they waited, steady and still, for the perfect moment to release. In your life, the same principle applies. Not every opportunity is meant to be taken immediately. Not every decision needs to be made today. Slow down. Feel the timing. Trust that clarity comes not in the rush, but in the stillness between. When you learn to wait for the moment that aligns with intention, courage, and wisdom, that's when everything changes. Instead of rushing through your choices, you allowed space for silence, for clarity, for timing. You didn't push or force, you simply waited for alignment. You trusted that life has its own rhythm, and that when the moment is right, you'll feel it. And when you act from that place, not pressure, but purpose, your decisions don't just work, they fulfill. How often do you feel the urge to manage every part of your life? The schedules, the conversations, the outcomes. We build plans, micromanage the future, and convince ourselves that if we just try hard enough, we can bend everything to our will. But have you ever paused to ask, what if that control is an illusion? The Stoics taught that much of our suffering begins with this illusion, the idea that we should be able to control everything. The truth is, we influence very little. We can't dictate how others behave, we can't predict every twist of fate, and we certainly can't control time. But we can choose our response. We can show up with intention, with integrity, with presence. Trying to control everything is like trying to trap water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it escapes. But when you let go, when you soften your grip, you make space for peace. You breathe. You trust. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic minds, reminded himself daily, focus only on what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, your character. The rest, let it be. Don't waste your energy trying to fix what was never yours to manage. Do your best, and let the universe handle the rest. So what can you do today? Begin by noticing, where are you trying to force something? Where are you holding too tightly? Ask yourself, what is truly in my control here? And once you find that, let the rest go. You'll be surprised how things begin to fall into place the moment you stop trying to arrange every piece. How often do you catch yourself forcing things, forcing a conversation, a plan, a breakthrough. We're conditioned to believe that success is forged in strain, that anything worthwhile must be hard-fought. But the most profound moments, the art, the insight, the joy, often come not from pressure, but from presence. The Stoics weren't passive. They lived with discipline. But they also understood the importance of flow, of acting in harmony with nature rather than against it. When we resist the rhythm of life, we exhaust ourselves. But when we allow things to unfold, something effortless and beautiful can emerge. Think of the greatest creators, thinkers, or moments in your own life. They weren't born from rigid control, but from surrender, from tapping into something beyond effort. True art, whether in a painting, a conversation, or a decision, isn't born from force. It's born from feeling, from trust, from flow. So maybe today, instead of grinding through your next task or overplanning every detail, you allow a little room for spontaneity. You listen. You act when it feels right, not because it's scheduled, but because it's real. When you live like that, things don't just get done. They come alive. They didn't chase perfection. They surrendered to the process. They let creativity flow naturally, without forcing it. Look at Picasso, for example. His later works, often described as spontaneous and abstract, weren't the result of random impulse. They were the product of years of discipline, followed by the courage to let go. His art came not from struggle, but from deep trust, in his instincts, in the process, and in the freedom of expression. In our own lives, the constant pressure to be perfect or productive often stifles both creativity and joy. We think we need to do more, push harder, try again, and grind endlessly to succeed. But in doing so, we miss the beauty that only spontaneity can offer, the quiet magic that happens when we allow ourselves to just be, to act without overthinking, and to trust the moment as it is. So how do you begin to embrace spontaneity over struggle? Start by noticing when you're trying too hard, whether in your work, your relationships, or a personal project. Ask yourself, am I forcing this? If the answer is yes, pause, let go of the need to control the outcome. Trust that when you stop pushing, the best ideas and moments often arrive effortlessly, unforced and true. Imagine today, instead of struggling to make things happen, you acted from a place of ease. You trusted that creating, connecting, and growing doesn't have to come through strain, but through presence. By surrendering to the flow, you just might discover not only more joy, but greater success along the way. Do you ever feel like life keeps asking for more? More tasks, more goals, more movement? In our rush to fill every second, we often forget something vital. There is power in emptiness. In a world obsessed with productivity, stillness can feel uncomfortable, even wrong. But what if true clarity, peace, and energy don't come from doing more, but from doing less? The Stoics understood that to live well, we must make space for rest, for silence, for nothingness. They didn't fear emptiness. They welcomed it, knowing that just as nature needs stillness between seasons, our minds and spirits need quiet to grow and heal. Think of a tree. It doesn't grow by constantly producing leaves. It rests. It waits. The empty space between branches allows light to filter through. In the same way, we need open spaces in our lives, moments of stillness, silence, and pause, to recharge and realign with what truly matters. Modern life makes this difficult. We're surrounded by notifications, deadlines, distractions. We're taught to believe that if we're not constantly doing something, we're falling behind. But that mindset leads only to burnout. The truth? Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is nothing. So how do you embrace space? Start by noticing when you're overwhelmed. Ask yourself, do I really need to fill this moment? Then, create space. Take short breaks. Sit in silence. Let go of tasks that no longer serve you. Give yourself permission to simply breathe. Imagine today, instead of filling every moment, you made room for stillness, for thought, for peace. You might find that in that quiet, you reconnect with your deepest clarity, your most creative self, and a calm sense of purpose that no amount of busyness could ever bring. Have you ever watched a child experience the world? Everything is magic. A puddle, a dandelion, the shape of clouds. Their wonder is pure. Their curiosity is endless. They don't need a reason to smile or a plan to explore. They simply feel and experience. But as we grow older, we lose that sense of awe. We get caught up in responsibilities, routines, and expectations. We stop looking, we stop noticing, and slowly life begins to feel dull. But wonder isn't lost, it's just buried. And the beautiful truth? You can bring it back. It begins by slowing down, by seeing the world not as a list of problems to solve, but as a mystery to explore. Ask more questions. Be curious about the ordinary. Let yourself be amazed by the smallest things, the way light filters through leaves, the sound of rain, the warmth of a smile. You don't need to be childish. You just need to remember what it feels like to see with fresh eyes. Imagine today, instead of rushing past everything, you paused to notice something beautiful. You allowed joy to arise from simple things. You walked not with burden, but with curiosity. In doing so, you might rediscover a part of yourself you forgot you had, and in that rediscovery find more meaning, more happiness, and more life. We often get bogged down by the demands of life, the routines, the deadlines, the weight of responsibility. But what if I told you that the key to a richer, more fulfilling life lies in reclaiming something we all once had and slowly lost? A childlike perspective. The Stoics, despite their reputation for reason and discipline, deeply valued the ability to see the world clearly, without the filters, judgments, or biases adulthood tends to bring. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, reminded him often that the world is still full of beauty, wonder, and opportunities for growth, if only we have the eyes to see it. Children see the world in its raw, vibrant truth. They live fully in the present. They don't dwell on regrets or obsess over the future. They're completely immersed in the now. Every experience is fresh. Every small moment is a chance for discovery. A puddle is an adventure. A leaf is a marvel. A simple breeze becomes a source of delight. As we grow older, that presence begins to fade. We begin to view life through a lens of expectations, stress, and sometimes cynicism. We become too busy to notice the way the sunlight plays on the pavement or how the wind moves gently through the trees. The magic doesn't disappear. We just stop seeing it. But here's the truth. You can bring that magic back by intentionally shifting your perspective. By choosing to view the world through childlike eyes, you begin to reconnect with the wonder that still surrounds you. This isn't about turning away from your responsibilities. It's about letting curiosity, awe, and simple joy shine through the cracks of your daily routine. So how do you begin? Start small. Slow down. Pause as you move through the world. Whether you're commuting, walking through a park, or sitting in silence, notice the details. Really notice them. The shape of a cloud, the way light reflects off a window, the feel of your breath as it moves in and out. Let go of your usual judgments. Approach the moment with fresh curiosity, as if you're seeing it all for the very first time. Imagine today, you walked not with burden, but with wonder. You let go of rushing. You opened your heart to what's already around you. You might just find that joy was never gone. It was simply waiting for you to look again. Have you ever noticed how quickly we label the world around us? We call something good or bad, a person kind or difficult, an experience a success or a failure. These labels, though they feel helpful, can often become mental traps. They shrink the full complexity of reality into something narrow and limiting. But what if we could let those labels go? What if, even for a moment, we saw things not as we think they are, but simply as they are? The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's greatest voices, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The idea is simple, yet radical. Events are neutral. It is our judgments that create the emotional weight. Think of a time something didn't go as planned, a job opportunity that slipped through your fingers, a relationship that ended unexpectedly, a mistake you couldn't undo. Chances are you labeled it immediately: failure, disappointment, loss. But pause for a moment. Was the event itself inherently bad? Or was it your interpretation, your label, that gave it that meaning? When we rush to judge, we narrow our perspective. We shut the door on growth, on curiosity, on unexpected transformation. But when we suspend our beliefs, even briefly, we create space. Space to observe, space to understand, space to respond with wisdom instead of emotion. This is a central Stoic practice: to delay judgment, to step back and simply observe without immediately assigning meaning. In doing so, we dissolve the emotional charge. We begin to experience reality more clearly, more fully. So how can you begin this practice? Start by noticing your thoughts. Catch yourself in the act of labeling: "This is terrible. I messed up, that person is wrong. Then gently release the label. Ask instead, what's really happening here? See the moment not as good or bad, but as just a moment. A part of life's unfolding, nothing more, nothing less. Imagine today, you walk through life without rushing to define every experience. You simply let it be. You let people be who they are. Let events unfold as they do. You paused your beliefs long enough to hear the deeper truth behind the surface. And in that stillness, you might just find a strange kind of freedom. A peace that comes not from control, but from clarity. From seeing the world not through the lens of judgment, but through the calm, open eyes of awareness. What if the answers you're searching for are already here, quietly waiting for you to stop thinking long enough to hear them? In a world that glorifies planning, analyzing, and constant doing, we often forget the power of simply listening. Not just to others, but to life itself. The Stoics understood this well. They weren't concerned with overanalyzing every detail or predicting every outcome. Instead, they focused on being present, observing reality as it is, and responding with clarity. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reminded himself to live in alignment with nature, to flow with the present moment rather than resist it. For the Stoics, wisdom didn't come from frantic mental effort. It came from stillness, from attentiveness, from listening. Think about your daily conversations. How often are you truly listening, fully present? And how often are you just waiting for your turn to speak, crafting a response while the other person is still talking? That's overthinking in motion. And we do the same thing with life, planning instead of participating, analyzing instead of absorbing, oft strategizing instead of sensing. But what if you paused? What if instead of obsessing over every choice, every outcome, every word, you simply tuned in? Life speaks in whispers. Through your gut instincts, a quiet moment of peace, a subtle feeling that guides you. When you slow down and listen to your body, your surroundings, your own breath, you create space for real clarity to arise. So how can you start? Begin with presence. The next time you face a decision, big or small, pause. Don't rush to solve it. Breathe. Notice what you feel, what you sense, what the moment is offering you. Trust that you don't always need to figure it out right away. Often, what you need to know will emerge when you simply create room for it. Imagine today, instead of overthinking everything, you allowed life to speak to you. Not with loud declarations, but with gentle guidance. You trusted that you don't need to have all the answers in your head. The wisdom is already there, beneath the noise, waiting to be heard. In that quiet, you may find not only better decisions, but a deeper peace. A knowing that goes beyond logic. A connection to the rhythm of life itself. Today, instead of overthinking every move, what if you simply listened to life as it is? You observed without judgment, acted without hesitation, and let go of the need to have it all figured out. You might find that by doing less mental work, life becomes clearer, and the answers you've been searching for become more obvious than you ever imagined. Now, let's talk about change. How often do you find yourself resisting it, clinging to what's familiar, even if it no longer serves you? Change can feel threatening. It disrupts comfort, unravels routine, and invites uncertainty. But what if change isn't something to fear, but something to welcome? Nothing in life stays the same, and in that constant motion lies one of our greatest teachers. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, reflecting on the impermanence of all things, reminded himself that change is part of nature's rhythm, not an enemy, but a necessary force. He understood that our suffering often comes not from change itself, but from our resistance to it. Think of the natural world. A tree does not resist the coming of autumn. It doesn't mourn the falling of its leaves. It sheds them with grace, knowing that spring will come again. It adapts, flows, and grows in cycles. The tree doesn't fear change, it relies on it. So should we. Yet, in our own lives, we grip tightly to jobs, relationships, identities, habits, long past their season. We fear what might happen if we let go. But here's the truth. Every moment of change offers a moment of becoming. Without change, we stay still. With it, we evolve. Ask yourself, where am I resisting change? Is there something I'm holding on to out of fear, something I've outgrown? Maybe it's a job that drains you, a routine that's keeping you stagnant, a version of yourself you've outlived. Whatever it is, imagine what might unfold if you released your grip. Not all change is loss. Much of it is transformation. So how can you embrace change? Start by noticing where you feel tension, the quiet corners of your life where you've stopped growing. Ask, what if I trusted this change instead of fearing it? What if this transition is not the end, but the beginning of something more aligned, more meaningful? Imagine today, instead of resisting, you welcomed change. You opened your heart to the possibilities it brings. You saw uncertainty not as chaos, but as creative energy. A force shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, freer. When you stop fearing change, you unlock one of the most powerful truths of life. Nothing lasts forever, and that's what makes each moment, each shift, each season, so beautifully alive. We often forget one of the most powerful tools we possess, our own instincts. What if I told you that your body and mind already know more than you think, and that learning to trust your instincts could be the key to living a more aligned and fulfilling life? The Stoics understood the value of reason, but they also knew the importance of self-awareness and inner wisdom. They didn't see logic and instinct as enemies. Instead, they saw them as companions, each strengthening the other when we live in harmony with our true nature. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about tuning into the natural rhythm of life, of listening not just to the world around us, but to the quiet guidance within. That inner compass, shaped by experience, reflection, and integrity, was something to be trusted, not ignored. Think back to a moment when you followed your gut. Maybe it was a career shift, a relationship choice, or simply a decision you made without overanalyzing. Things just clicked. You didn't second guess, you moved with clarity. That's instinct in action. It's not guesswork. It's deep, internal wisdom built over time. In contrast, when we overthink, we disconnect from that wisdom. We doubt ourselves. We spin in circles trying to find the perfect answer, only to feel more confused. The noise of the mind drowns out the quiet truth already present within us. Your instincts are not impulsive whims. They are grounded signals from your body, your experiences, your subconscious understanding of what aligns with your path. When you tune into them, when you learn to listen and act on them, you reconnect with a sense of trust in yourself and in life. So how do you begin to trust your instincts more? Start by paying attention to your body. Notice how it responds in moments of choice. Does something feel light or heavy, open or constricted? These sensations often speak louder than thoughts. Practice slowing down, creating space before reacting, and listening deeply to what your inner voice is saying, not the one shaped by fear or ego, but the one rooted in clarity and calm. Imagine today, instead of overanalyzing every decision, you allowed yourself to act from instinct, from quiet inner knowing. You trusted that your body and mind already hold more wisdom than you've been taught to believe. And in doing so, you stepped into a more natural, empowered, and aligned version of yourself. Have you ever found yourself caught in the rush of life, feeling like you're constantly running against the clock? Whether it's meeting deadlines, juggling responsibilities, or simply trying to keep up, it can feel like there's never enough time. We rush, we push, we exhaust ourselves in the name of progress, believing that speed will lead to success. But more often than not, rushing only creates stress, confusion, and burnout. What if the path to fulfillment wasn't in doing more faster, but in doing less, better? The Stoics were masters of balance. They didn't glorify busyness or hustle. Instead, they championed deliberate, thoughtful action, calm effort rooted in presence. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you seek tranquility, do less, or more accurately, do what's essential, and in a principled way. To move with ease is not to be lazy, it's to be intentional. It's to understand that clarity comes not from speed, but from stillness. When we stop rushing, we begin to make better decisions. We notice more, we connect more deeply, we become more effective, not less. Think of water flowing down a mountain stream. It doesn't force its way through the rocks, it flows around them, finding the path of least resistance. And in doing so, it carves valleys and nourishes life. In the same way, when we move with ease, when we align with the natural rhythm of life, we find that progress becomes smoother, more sustainable, and often more profound. So how can you begin to move with more ease? Start by noticing when you're caught in a rush. Are you acting from a place of urgency or intention? Pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is it aligned with what truly matters? Then practice doing one thing at a time. Be fully present with each action, no matter how small. Let go of the belief that you must hurry to be successful. Often, the most impactful actions come from a place of calm. Imagine today, instead of racing through your tasks, you approached each one with ease and presence. You trusted that moving slowly and intentionally would take you exactly where you need to go. When you stop rushing, you begin to live more fully, and in doing so, life becomes less of a struggle and more of a flow. The Stoics knew something modern life often makes us forget. Rushing leads to stress, mistakes, and burnout. Hasty movements, they believed, come from anxiety, not clarity. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reminded himself to slow down, focus on the present, and move with intention, not haste. Think about it. When you rush through your day, do you ever feel truly satisfied with what you've done? Chances are you miss details, make errors, or end up feeling overwhelmed by all that's still unfinished. Speed becomes a burden rather than a blessing. But when you slow down, when you move with ease and awareness, something shifts. You're not just more effective, you're more present. You begin to experience life as it unfolds, rather than constantly trying to outrun it. This doesn't mean doing less, it means doing things more mindfully, more deliberately, and with greater presence. Take a moment to reflect on your day. How much of it is spent rushing? We often equate speed with productivity, but all that hurry usually just leads to stress and scattered focus. You start one task and quickly jump to another, never fully arriving in either. By the end of the day, you're drained, not accomplished. The solution isn't to do nothing, it's to do what matters well, to move with purpose rather than pressure, to focus on the quality of your actions instead of the quantity. Think of life like driving a car. If you speed carelessly, you risk crashes. But if you drive with attention and care, you reach your destination smoothly and safely. So, how do you start moving with ease today? First, notice the moments when you're rushing, due to external pressure or your own inner urgency. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what would happen if I slowed down here? Often, the fear of falling behind is just that. A fear, not a fact. Slowing down doesn't mean sacrificing progress. It means ensuring that your progress is meaningful. When you approach life with calm, deliberate action, you'll find that things start to fall into place more naturally. The pressure fades, and peace takes its place. The closing truth: trust the flow of life. As we've explored in these reflections, the key to a deeply fulfilling life isn't found in struggle, control, or endless striving. It's found in presence, intention, and trust. The wisdom of the Stoics and the power of mindfulness teach us this. Life is always unfolding, and our peace lies in flowing with it, not resisting it. What if you stopped pushing so hard? What if you let go of the need to control every detail and simply allowed yourself to be guided by presence, purpose, and instinct? What if the joy, clarity, and freedom you're seeking aren't somewhere far off in the future, but here now, in the breath, in the moment, in the gentle letting go? So today, try this. Let go. Move with ease. Breathe. Trust. Your life isn't a race, it's a journey, and the more you trust the rhythm of that journey, the more effortlessly it begins to unfold. You don't have to force your way forward. You're already on your way.